welcome to Lesson 6-4, Chapter 15. We are going to talk about water treatment in this lesson. Learning goal is that you should be able to describe the basic steps used at water treatment facilities. So success criteria, by the end of this lesson, you should be able to differentiate among primary, secondary, and tertiary sewage treatments. So primary sewage treatments is removing the large particles. Primary, it's the first step. We got to get rid of the big chunks through filtration, and then it's going to pump the remaining water into settling ponds and lakes. And that helps the kind of smaller particles settle out. So after those particles settle out, water is going to be drawn off the top because the top's going to be like clearer. And although it's clear of large particulate matter, which you can imagine what that means, it still has a lot of organic matter like toxins, nutrients, things like that, dissolved salts, bacteria, and microorganisms. Secondary sewage treatment is a biological process that usually follows primary treatment. So such facilities are designed to promote bacterial and other microorganism growth, which then degrade the organic matter. So first, obviously, we don't want a ton of bacteria and other microorganisms in the water we're drinking, but they're going to help break down the waste that wasn't filtered out. Wastewater is then mixed with large quantities of highly oxygenated water to encourage this growth. Remember, we talked about the biochemical oxygen demand. That's how much oxygen is needed to break down organic matter. That's what this is helping with. They're going to put in a ton of oxygen into that water so that those organisms that are breaking down the organic matter can do that without any problems. And then in a trickling filtration system, wastewater is sprayed over a surface of rock or other substrate to increase the amount of dissolved oxygen. We're just mixing more oxygen in with that water. So this is primary and secondary wastewater treatment. So it's just being filtered through. Sewage sludge is a mixture of organisms and other particulate matter that's settled out during the treatment process. So during that settling out stage in primary treatment, the sludge at the bottom, that's sewage sludge. Unactivated sludge sewage treatment plants hold wastewater in settling tanks with air continuously bubbled through it, and then the water and the sludge eventually separate out. So for tertiary sewage treatment, it's an additional stage that's used to remove inorganic nutrients such as phosphorus and nitrogen that can be left after primary and secondary treatments. This process is extremely costly because it requires specific chemical treatment of the water. And some municipalities use natural or constructed wetlands to serve this stage, which I mentioned in lesson 15.4, the last lesson, when we talked about the importance of wetlands and what they can do for us. Some areas use effluent to irrigate golf courses, roadside vegetation, or cropland, so not what we are drinking, but like watering other things. And then the vegetation can take up those nutrients and prevents them from being released into streams and lakes and causing eutrophication. That's the end of lesson 6, but really quickly, we're just going to do like a summary of chapter 15. So water is a renewable resource that circulates continually between the atmosphere and the Earth's surface. That's the water cycle. The energy from the hydrologic cycle is provided by the sun. There are two basic kinds of aquifers: unconfined, which receives water from the top, and confined, which is between two impervious layers and it's under pressure. The way in which land is used has significant impact on rates of evaporation, runoff, and infiltration. The four uses of water are domestic, agricultural, in-stream, and industrial. Water use is measured by either the amount withdrawn or the amount consumed. Domestic water is in short supply in many metropolitan areas. The largest consumptive use of water is for agricultural irrigation. Major sources of water pollution are municipal sewage, industrial wastes, and agricultural runoff. And then organic matter in water requires oxygen for its decomposition and therefore has a large biochemical oxygen demand, or BOD. Point sources of pollution are easy to identify and resolve. You can point to them. Non-point sources of pollution are a little bit more difficult to detect and control. And thermal pollution occurs when an industry returns heated water to its source. Temperature changes in water can alter the kinds and numbers of plants and organisms that can live in it. Wastewater treatment consists of primary treatment, a physical settling process, secondary treatment, which is biological degradation of the wastes, and then tertiary treatment, which is chemical treatment to remove certain components. Groundwater pollution comes from a variety of sources. Reduced water quality can seriously threaten land use and in-place water use. So before you move on to mastery, can you describe primary, secondary, and tertiary sewage treatment? If you can't, maybe rewatch the video, or you can come ask me. I will see you in the next one.